Series of Secrets of My Success. Today, I'm delighted to introduce the beautiful Emma Clarke from MCS Aesthetics. Welcome, Emma.
Hi. Hi.
Thank you for joining us here. Now, you and I think, go back about 8 years,
Yeah.
perhaps, when we first met,
Yeah.
and things have changed for both of us. Both of us have
Yeah.
got in growth companies. You've got an amazing clinic. So just give everybody a brief description of what your background was, how you've
Yeah.
got into the aesthetic market, and what kind of operation that you run there.
Okay. Yeah. So my background is actually is accident and emergency nursing. I qualified 17 years ago now with nursing.
Get away, you
Um,
don't look old enough.
Thanks. And basically, my careers, my husband's careers took a slight change, and I had this massive crisis, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to lose my registration as a nurse, and I approached, the world of aesthetics basically. I then started in aesthetics doing the obvious, the Botox, the fillers, the things that everyone associates aesthetics with. Quite quickly, I met you and Ian, and discovered devices. And in all honesty, it was a small devices to begin with, like Smart Mezzo. And then when I opened my own clinic nearly 5 years ago, I remember having a conversation with you. I was actually at home in my living room. I was begging you. I was like, I need the smart diode now. I think I ordered it before the clinic was even open because I just knew that that was a really big part of what I wanted for the company. I wanted machines. And yeah, I've been a clinic. I now have over 2,000 clients, six-figure company, came away from the NHS altogether. I don't do any NHS work at all. And I've had 7 Christmases in a row off, never had to work at Christmas.
Well, I mean, look at that. Isn't that fantastic? And I think you missed out a bit called humility there, okay? Because you're a very humble person. I know that. But when you say it's a clinic, it's a bit more than a clinic because you branched out. You're doing training. You're supporting
Yeah,
other nurses entering the business, and all of those things. So it's more than just a little clinic, isn't it now?
it is. I mean, literally, when I took this building on, it was 2 completely empty buildings that I oversaw all the building work, combining that into 2. I've got a clinic, a beauty therapist. I've got my own training academy. I train for very good companies like Smart Group. And I'm also doing some other things in the background, but they're not quite out yet.
Well, you never. One thing about you, Emma, is you never sit still.
No.
There's that drive, and it must have been a huge step to come from, if you like, the controlled environment of the NHS, where you know the shift patterns, you know what you're going to do, our loss, by the way, so another highly trained individual coming out of bureaucracy and being treated not so well as we should do, to our amazing nurses, but actually standing on your own 2 feet,
Yeah.
out of your comfort zone. So going from this NHS vital worker and a really key worker in an accident emergency to suddenly becoming a managing director, a sales director, an operations director, the cleaner, yeah, right,
Yeah.
okay, right,
Yeah. Every hat.
and still running your own column, okay,
Yeah.
and building a business, and to have it for 5 years in anybody's book, and anybody listening watching today will know that's success.
Yeah.
So what was the driver? So you started off doing the injectables, becoming a prescriber, and that's obviously given in your first input to an income, yeah, and patients. What was the driver to introduce technology?
Yeah.
What made you step across and not just do injectables?
Yeah, good point. So, um, it is, when you go from the NHS, you've got regular income, sick pay, annual leave, your rota. When you leave work, you leave work. And then you come into this business, and like you rightly said, you have lots of different caps, sometimes caps I don't want to wear. And it's a huge, you're driven because you've got this hunger, I'd be first in, last out, driving, I don't like to fail at anything, but it's this drive to succeed. And what
Yeah.
I was seeing was, again, I've said the obvious, the Botox, the fillers, the skin boosters. But those clients I would only see, every 3 months, every 6 months, every 12 months. Also restrictions on advertising. We can't advertise prescription only medications. So what you deem to be your high-end service, you know, 230, £250 a sale, your profit margin's very small, and your outcall, your reach is also very small because you can't advertise legally, right? So I did a lot of skin treatments, kind of the lower end, your kind of £49 dermaplanes, you know, your little kind of 45-minute treatments. And I soon decided that I needed something that was going to give me a high profit margin, that I could see people on a regular, monthly or bi-monthly. I wanted to treat a wider audience as well. You know, there's still a generational thing or a stigma about, oh, I don't want to look false, I don't want to look fake. I needed to hit a bigger target audience as well. And that's when I started to introduce devices. So over time, I like to say as well, I have purchased all my devices. Smart Group don't give me devices and then ask me to talk about them. I've purchased all of my own devices. I had laser hair removal machine to begin with, and the Smart Mezzo. I've got the Accor pen, and most recently I got the Big Daddy-O of the Skin XL. You know, so yeah, summary: increased profit margin, reduce the amount of work, reach a bigger target audience.
Yeah, and that's really kind of, to anybody listening, that's some fundamentals of any business, even outside of this industry. If you can increase the frequency of your clients,
Yeah,
yeah, and you can increase their spend because of that frequency, and you can also bring in new clients, which is introducing a new device can do. There are the three pillars of any successful business, whether you're selling chocolate, ice cream, aesthetics, anything. You need to get that repeat business. You need to bring in new clients, and you bring in new clients by keep widening that audience. And you couldn't have put it better, because everything has its place. Hair removal is the no-brainer, because 98% of females want to remove unwanted hair. Yeah, the 2% aren't coming into an aesthetic or beauty salon for that matter, because it's not on their agenda. So if you can provide a resolution to unwanted hair, you know your audience is going to be pretty big straight away. And in turn, out of that audience, internally, you can promote your other services, such as your injectables, which obviously your prescription. So if you're going to a business guru, which I'm definitely not, you'd be getting tick boxes left, right, and centre, because you're doing the three key things. So it's congratulations. And we also
I was just going to say, Josh, with laser, we used to do waxing, which again was back-breaking for my colleagues. You know, you'd go have the wax machine on all day long, we'd have drop-ins and this, that, and the other. I remember we had a rugby player with, you know, legs like this. It's a grueling task. It's huge. I mean, don't get me wrong, that was probably a perk, but it was a grueling task. And we have stopped laser altogether. It came off of my price list in January because it was time consuming versus what I can achieve with laser hair removal. You know, fantastic results.
Oh, right. So you don't do waxing at all now?
All gone. All gone. Yeah.
Okay. And it hasn't affected the business, because a lot of people worry about dropping waxing. And I always say, well, don't be just a wax expert, just be a hair removal expert, and they will decide. So it must have come, the point come down to is that the wax income wasn't justifying its position on the menu.
For us, it was, why break my girls' backs in waxing for little profit, versus, you know, us just doing treatments for laser. And also, you know, you've got somebody sitting on the bed going, well, which one's the best one? And you go, waxing's great, you know, you grow the hair, we lose the hair, but laser, we can treat you and minimize that hair, you know, massive hair reduction, and you won't be coming as frequently. You haven't got to grow the hair. So it felt a bit of an oxymoron to have the two. So we went for laser slowly.
And that made success. Now, there's a question here that I always ask, is why do you choose Smart? And I think you've just kind of already said that. But I think what might be is, what does a smart device, what's the confidence that Smart gives you to keep choosing to come back to us, if that makes sense?
Do you know, I think for me, it's going to sound really cheesy because you're on camera. It is you guys, you know, you give that real personable kind of feeling. You always say that you're like a family, and you really are. I know that there's been times in my own personal life when I've struggled and you guys have dropped flowers on me vitally. So all of you, smart groups through my door or something like that. If I've had a problem, let's say I've got a client, and we all have it, we're not ashamed to admit it. You have a client where you hit a brick wall and I don't know how where I can go. I will still have calls with you or with Amy or with Fran, and we'll talk it through and go, oh, I never thought about that. So it's that networking. And you still hold small business values, but for a big growing business. We are not just a number. You don't just buy a device and never see you again. We have ongoing support. We have conversations, and sometimes we can't get each other off the phone because our little brains are working at trying to generate the next thing and the next thing. You don't get that small business value with all big businesses. And I think if you looked at your business, I think, oh, he must just be starting out because he's so nice and he's so helpful. You're not. This is just within you. And I think that's what kept bringing me back to Smart.
That's really kind. That's really sweet of you to say that. And I'm not paying you, just to make sure anybody knows that, and we're not paying you. But the ethos here, I think we share ethos. If in terms of it's a people business. You're looking after patients. I don't have customers. We have clients and partners. We don't have customer numbers. We have your first name as your account reference, if that makes sense. And the ethos and the people that we tend to employ and like working here are people that want to genuinely care, and through relationships and collaborations and partnerships can be of mutual benefit. So it's no square peg into a round hole, see you later, you're not a number. And we've organically grown into kind of, something that I'm very proud of, and the people here love working with them, and we tend to retain. So to hear that, when the team hear this, they're going to take great pride in that as well. So that's really kind. So you've grown this business. It's now stable, 5 years in, running smoothly. How's it changed your personal life?
Massively. I mean, you can't buy time. Time is really, really precious, and I've learnt that over the last few years that it's invaluable. It has given me the opportunity to, work. I say I've worked less, I don't work less, but work effectively and efficiently and cost effectively to give me a fantastic life. I bought the car that I wanted, no credit, no finance. I've travelled to Africa and Dubai.
Wow.
I've just bought 2 commercial properties as well now, so I'm also renting, and don't get me wrong, it is blood, it's sweat, it's tears, more tears, it's being first in, it's being last out, and having amazing friends and family. Like, again, that sounds cliche, but my husband is not the type to be, where are you? When are you coming home? What are you doing? They made allowances to let me grow, and it's just changed our lives completely for all of us.
I mean, that's fantastic news. It is blood, sweat, and tears. It is hard work, but it's the inspiration that keeps driving you on, and you're doing it for all the right reasons and not anybody else. I mean, that is just wonderful to hear. Do you have any plans for the next 12 months you'd like to share? You can say no.
I don't want to jinx. I'm doing my prescribing, so again, this is really important that when you're a nurse or a medical professional, you can still retain your PIN number. You can still do your CPD that's relevant to your nursing qualification, for example. So I'm doing my V300 to allow me to prescribe, which in turn will streamline my service and save me an absolute ton of money. And we've just cracked into the wedding fair kind of market as well. So again, this really links into what we're doing here with kind of Smart Group. We were able to showcase with photography the results that we'd got. And you've got a bride who, trust me, I know, brides myself will spend stupid money on anything. You want a penguin to walk your rings down? Penguin will do that. Your bride will sign that off. You want a sweet car? She's signing it off. Your skin is that was I was honing in. I was like, forget the wedding skin. So I've got a lot of bookings from that, doing again, my Skin Excel treatments. The Smart Mezzo's gone crazy. Don't get me wrong, I also work with places like DermaQuest, and we're doing a lot of skin and home products. But when you put that together as a collaboration, you're not just selling one treatment, I'll see you and you're done. You're repeatedly selling your retail products. You're seeing them, you're upgrading the service. So we might have 3 months on one product, 3 months on another service, with the Excel machine, you've got somewhere to go. I start them, so we've just hit into, like I said, the wedding market, and we're seeing some 2026 bride bookings now. So again, that's forecasting for the future of my business as well.
Brilliant, very clever, very clever. In fact, that whole transformation package of, it's not just 3 treatments on a product, it's 6 months or a 12-month continuous, is obviously the big thing in terms of recurring income and a subscription-based service that is we're seeing coming more and more prevalent. To take that and then put it towards an event, and we know every mother-in-law will be paying, or every mother will be paying for her bride and herself to look their best on that special day. So very clever, very clever. And lastly, as you sit here now, 5 years after making that plunge, to anybody else out there, any other professional, any other nurse, what have you got any thoughts or advice for any fellow professionals that are thinking about expanding or how they can develop their business?
Okay. If I had my time again, if I would stay in the NHS and use that as my security, that was a guaranteed income, sick pay, maternity pay, whatever, to build up that business as a sideline. But there comes a point where you can't do the two, and you need that hunger in your belly. So by dropping that NHS, that fires you up. You have to earn a wage. You have to push for your marketing, push for your treatments. I would say the biggest thing for me in my clinic is we don't push unwanted sales, no essential services. It's always about, I will turn down clients, I will turn down treatments. We're likable, people like to come and have a chat with us, and we get the updates on your lives. Stay relevant, stay personal. Don't try and fit into this mold. I certainly, believe it or not, do not have a face full of fillers and Botox, and I'm snatched within an inch of my life every day. There will be days when you have to excuse the state of my hair, or just be real. That's what people want. They want a real product, and that's you. Don't jump on trends either. They're very often that. And I can remember at the start, you kind of go, oh my gosh, this is coming. Okay, we'll do the training, we'll introduce it. And you just sit back, hang on, they're doing something else. And you're back into something else. And I didn't want to keep keeping up all the time and buying into trends that were literally that. They were very short-lived.
Yeah.
Look at the route, look at your target audience. What do you want to specialize in? And stick with that. Be the master of that. You can still, be your medical professional. You can still revalidate. But yeah, just do it. Do it.
That's brilliant. So Emma Clarke with an E from MCS Aesthetics. Yeah. You have, as we say, smashed it out the park. I want to thank you so much for sharing just an insight into you as a person, and the drive and the energy that's coming through here is obvious, and sharing your secret of success. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.